you might remember this schematic showing how corporate finance works in general. We saw that the investors put their money into corporations who subsequently invest that into real assets, and then any earnings or profits from these real assets is distributed back to the investors through dividends or interest payments. At the time of investment, the investors also get what we call as the financial assets, that is a share certificate or a loan agreement or any other document which says that they made investment into the company. Now, this is a beautiful system which helps the people who have money to invest into companies, and the people who have the skills, professionally qualified managers and engineers and other professionals to manage the business. So this is in a way a separation of ownership and management. And along with this, we also know that there is a wall between the two. So after the investors put the money into the company, they don't have any say about what happens to that money. It is then up to the managers to decide, make these corporate decisions about how they want to make use of the money. And quite often the managers the investors don't get to see what happens behind the walls of the companies. As if you are a banker or if you are a shareholder, you generally don't get the permission to go inside the company and see what is happening, who is working and all, and it is for good reasons, because you don't want daily interference from the investors. But then naturally, investors are anxious about whether the managers are making good use of their money or they are wasting it. So there is a dilemma. I mean, you don't want too much of interference from the investors, but at the same time, the managers should be held accountable. So there should be some form of mechanism that allows the investors to know what is happening inside the company. So this is otherwise it then becomes a question of credibility or the trust of the investors on the companies. And we have seen in recent years several examples where the investor trust has been breached. The managers or the professionals inside the company do not act in the best interest of the investors. I'll just share two notable examples. And these are again large reputed companies with tremendous track record and good solid image, but still they collapsed. So first one happened in I think year 1999 was the collapse of Enron, which the allegations are that they fudged the accounts. They did not tell what is happening inside the company to the investors. And the second one was the Satyam case, I think year 2008, where again similar story, where the company showed certain assets which were not really their assets. So in a way they lied to the investors and to keep the markets happy. So subsequently, of course, the company was taken over by the Mahindras, and today it is known as the um, Tech Mahindra, headed by one of our own alumni. But the point is, and we cannot be very sure whether the company and the management is credible or not. For instance, the Satyam company, just before collapsing, had won the Golden Peacock Award for corporate governance. So you would think that yes, they are doing some things right, and that is why they are winning such a prestigious award. But yeah, what happened. So naturally, it is natural for anybody who is putting money into the company to sort of want to know whether their money is being uh, used productively. So this wall between the investors and the managers needs to collapse. It needs to disappear. In fact, what is called as this is typically called as the lifting of the corporate veil. parda. So that there is a natural sort of division between the investors and the managers, but that needs to be lifted so that at least the investors can see it, and if possible they can question it. So currently there is a case going on about Z Entertainment, where one of the investors, which is a foreign institutional investor, a large company called as Invesco, who hold I think about 12% of the total shares, and they are asking questions, and they want an emergency meeting of the shareholders be called so that some pertinent questions be asked. I think one of the questions is about whether the son of the promoter, Subhash Chandra, should be appointed as the heir and the manager of the organization, where the ownership of Subhash Chandra and the son is negligible. I mean, it is definitely less than what Invesco owns. So in such a situation, should that still be allowed, to happen? So how this corporate veil can be lifted is an active area of research, and there are pros and cons of different approaches, and we are moving in a certain direction through enactment of what is called as the Indian AS, Indian Accounting Standards. Globally there is something called as IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards. So these things basically are helping us understand what is happening inside a company. Basically, this is the whole field of accounting. The chartered accountants are trained to uh, report what happens inside the company to the outside world, and for that they follow a set of laid down rules. Before 2016, these were called as GAAP, generally accepted accounting practices. So there was no hard and fast rule or a law, but after 2016 it has been codified and it's a law now. So it's an what we call as the Indian Accounting Standard. So we'll learn about this for the rest of the course. But through this video, I thought I will give you an overview of what is happening there, why it is important. Basically, to make the investors known about the happenings in the company. So investors want to know about a few things. For example, um, does the company owe its money to anybody else apart from me? So if I am a bank and I have lent 10 crore rupees to a business, I would also want to know whether the business owes some more money to other people. So which is what we call as the liabilities. We also want to know what are the assets. That means what does the company own? Does the company have some tangible, intangible, movable or fixed assets which are valued in using a fair and objective methodology? The next thing that the investors would like to know is whether the company is running into profits or losses, and if it is running into profits, what are the sources of revenue, where is it spending money, that is what are the costs, or the more accounting term is expenses. So all this information is presented through accounting statements, and we will learn about these statements in due course, and we will try to make use of examples, that is actual live documents from companies as far as possible, and these are fairly easily available these days on the website of every company. You would find their recent statements, at least for the listed companies, the publicly listed companies and publicly traded companies. This is a compulsion. It's a mandatory requirement for them to publish their financial statements. So it has made our life easy, because we can now access it easily and we can analyze it. So that is what we'll be doing through this course. Next, I will share certain accounting principles, and then we will look at the actual statements of a couple of companies to try to understand the statements. So the purpose in this course is not necessarily to create the statements. Your job is not to become an accountant. Your job is to be able to understand these numbers and either as an investor or as a manager, and make decisions based on that, that whether a company is doing poorly or whether it is doing well, whether we should do business with this company, whether we should lend money to this company, whether we should buy shares of this company. So these are some of the reasons why we try to understand. And let me also caution you that it's the whale, although we try to lift it, but it has not been completely lifted. Naturally, we don't know each and every detail of a company, and rightly so, because the companies would like to keep certain information as trade secrets. For example, which customers did an automobile company sell its car to? They would not want to tell us all the details. They may tell us, okay, we sold so many cars, but they would not want to tell that, this is the address and this is the Aadhaar card and this is the PAN number of customer 1, this is for customer 2, and so on. So there are certain information which are not shared. So there is a limit to which the information has been shared. And as a result, all our analysis also has that limitation. Secondly, the information is available publicly, so therefore anybody can access it, and anybody who can would have profited from it. So for example, if Larsen and Toubro receives a huge order for a large project, it is expected that its share price will go up. But before you sat down and collected the information and analyzed it, and figured out that yes, now the share price will go up by say 10%. By that time, someone else would have already done this and come up with the strategies, and the price would have already increased. So if you are thinking that with your own money or with your own corpus, you will be able to make use of this information and do some share trading and make money out of it, my advice is forget about it. With own money, it may be 10 lakhs, it may be 1 crore, it may be 10 crores, it's not possible. The possibility of making money is there if you have pooled resources. Say if you are a fund manager at a mutual fund house who generally has 1,000 crores of corpus at disposal, or some of the large cap equity mutual funds have almost 25,000 crores, 30,000 crores of assets under management, and if you are operating at that scale, it's probably possible to make money, and sufficient money that will justify your time. If you are starting off with say 10 lakh rupees of investment, and you spend probably 1 week to analyze a company, and your call may be correct, but you end up making probably 0.5% of the money, and that money is not sufficient to justify your 1 week of investment into that particular exercise. So that's something which you need to keep in mind. But it's an exciting field, it's an interesting field. So do keep looking at these numbers, and do analyze wherever you get a chance. It may not give you rewards through these shares trading, but it will be helpful to you as a life skill. If you are going to be a manager worth any salt, you would want to be able to understand the balance sheets and profit and loss statements of different companies, and you would want to sort of take your decisions based on this data rather than just reputation or credibility or some such you can say parameters. So with that, I'll move to actual data, and I'll share that in a bit.